District Board of Education meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. First agenda item will be the consent agenda, the approval of the May 22nd board meeting, as well as the statement of receipts and expenditures for May of 2023. Is there a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. All right, next we will go to the superintendent.
Yes, so as our year has ended, I'm going to have Mr. Moore come up and speak with us about some of the accomplishments of some of our student athletes. Congratulations, class of 2023, had a great graduation. Thanks to all the board members for being there and recognizing our students, and we wish them well. And we've had some recognitions. I'd have Mr. Moore lead us through.
Thank you for making the time. Thank you. Is this on?
It's on.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for making the time. It's always a pleasure to come in after each fall, winter, or spring sports season and recognize our student athletes' achievement. This spring was a very successful one here at GHS. We'll start off with track and field. We had a large contingent of participants in the WIA state meet. They were Claire Willie in the 800 meters, Tatum Wiedenhoft in the shot put, the 4x100 girls relay team of Natalie Manuel, Emily Sewell, Grace Wieselman, and Gwen Grumley, the 4x2 relay team of Natalie Manuel, Emily Sewell, Grace Wieselman, and Gwen Grumley, and the 4x400 relay team of Marissa Morgan, Josie Gerke, Claire Willie, and Emily Sewell. Jared Sudbrink qualified in the high jump, and Jackson Heinley qualified in the discus. Academic All-State honorees were Vikram Bangalore, Ethan Cabell, Ben Doberfall, Caleb Kempfer, Ian Mitchell, Brianna Mersch, Luke Olson, Amber Schilling, Jared Sudbrink, and Grace Wieselman. The baseball team tied for the North Shore Conference Championship, and that's their first conference championship at GHS since 1990. And they were also regional champions. All conference honorees were Jack Summers on the first team, Garrett Bonk and Mason Lemke on the second team, and Nick Coker and Carson Faust earning honorable mention. Coach Brian Durst was also named the North Shore Conference Coach of the Year. So congratulations to Coach and the guys. Softball player Elisa Militic and soccer players Braylee Sumner and Olivia Ruff, both freshmen, were recognized as all-conference honorable mention in their respective sports. Golfer Max Belke was recognized as a first-team all-conference golf honoree in the North Shore Conference. Academic all-state golfers were Max Belke, Miles Jager, who was also recognized with high honors in the academic realm, and Billy Rice. The varsity golf team was also awarded academic all-state recognition as a team as well. And then finally, the esports team in their inaugural year won the state championship in the Valorant division. Team members were Alex Espinoza-Bickle, Lucas Hensel, Lucas Hess, Todd O'Connor, Charlie Rose, and Matthew Zabel. And that concludes our spring sports recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Also want to extend some congratulations to the John Long, Kennedy, and Woodview students and staff on being recognized by the Wisconsin RTI Center for their work toward fully implementing a system that leads to improved student outcomes. All three schools were recognized at the silver level in behavior, and Kennedy and Woodview were recognized at the bronze level for both reading and mathematics. Basically, it's supposed to help ensure consistency of instruction, enhances staff skills, provides support for all learners, and builds stronger relationships. So congratulations to the staff there. And then we had Summer Learning Academy started officially last week with a strength and conditioning that started early, and then today was the official kickoff for all of our classes with enrichment and academic courses. So this now, it runs through August 3rd, and our session 1 and 2 are our largest ones that we have. The third one is the one that's a little more enrichment and not as academically focused, but I'm excited to see students in our buildings again after a week out, and now they're actively engaged in summer school. And then thank you to the Grafton Educational Foundation for supporting our educational programs by awarding teachers with $65,000 in grants this year. The funding is being provided for the following: band uniforms, knee anatomy kit, monitors, video cameras, drones, microphones, metal cutting laser at GHS, bass drums and harnesses at John Long, school club equipment, playground equipment, and kindergarten toys at Woodview, and decodable books and Lego League equipment at both elementary schools. GES was also instrumental in getting us our esports off the ground, got them started with they'd funded some chairs for the students, so it's cool to see them win the state championship in their inaugural year. But appreciate the Educational Foundation's support. over the years and especially this past year. And with that, that concludes my report.
Any comments or questions for Jeff? Thank you for the update. Great to see the success of the athletes, and as well as thank you for the Grafton Education Fund for their support. Next part of the agenda, public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak tonight? If you could, that way you can be heard.
All right, I tried. My name is Erin Shoemaker, for those of you that don't know me. I have kids at high school, middle school, and Kennedy Elementary School. And I guess my purpose for being here tonight is to ask the board and the administration what we as parents can do to start supporting our teachers better and our staff, because I know, especially at John Long, there's been some struggles the last couple of months, and I also know from experience, if Grafton is nothing, they are at least the most supportive and giving community that I've ever experienced. So I know that there may be a lot of negative people out there, but I want to be part of the solution, so I'm trying to find out from all of you, what can parents do besides write an email or write a petition? We want Officer Tony to have as much support as possible. We want our principals and our counselors to have as much support as possible from parents, from students, and I know that there's a lot of behavior issues, and you're not going to be able to fix that. But if we parents can do anything, I know I have at least 25 people that have messaged me today saying, I wish I could be there, but we support you. Let us know what they say. So I know you can't say anything, but if there's ever anything I think that parents can do, I think all you have to do is ask. Or put that note out there or something, email. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we will go to item C. These will be recommendations for the board action from our June 12th curriculum meeting, and Carrie and Michael will take this portion.
All right, we met on Monday, June 12th, and went through many items, including social studies K-5 adoption.
Yeah, so just a week ago, we overviewed the process that we went through for our adoption of a social studies curriculum and main resource for our elementary school. We've talked about the last year. A year ago, we started a pilot. That pilot was for inquiry journeys, and we piloted that K-5. Through that process, we learned that it just wasn't a good fit based on our schedule and connections to Amplify CKLA. So we are bringing forward 2 adoptions of resources, a K-3 resource, which would be for Studies Weekly. It is a resource that will provide great background knowledge and a core understanding of social studies concepts. It's built upon a scaffold system of similar concepts being introduced in kindergarten and grown upon through a weekly reader, magazine, or newspaper, and that's sent home for the transparency side of parents being involved in that understanding of vocabulary, and that will be done for K1 and 2. And then the 3rd grade Studies Weekly actually transitions to a inquiry-based process through Studies Weekly, and then inquiry journeys will be a full inquiry process. We shared some of those units that will be introduced and shared for 4th and 5th grade. So we brought forth those recommendations for social studies. I did update the total so you can see the total cost of the fiscal impact. So our overall recommendation is recommended the K-5 Social Studies Adoption Committee to adopt Studies Weekly for grades 3-5 or K-3 and inquiry journeys for 4th and 5th. You can see the cost per student and total cost that will be covered by the teaching and learning budget.
We talked about it, and it fits really well with the 4th and 5th graders during the inquiry. They have 45 minutes to spend on social studies, and that was the hard part for K-3. They don't have as much time for social studies with phonics and other word work that they have to get done. So consumables were really nice for them, the K-3 one. I read them. We all got to flip through them. They are definitely engaging. It lets the parents know what's going on for the kids in each unit, and they get to have stuff to talk about what they did with their day. And the 4th and 5th grade definitely helps them do that inquiry learning, asking those deeper questions, thought-provoking questions that they're going to need in middle school to be able to really progress. So with the recommendation from the committee was that we recommend it to the full board for adoption.
Any additional questions regarding the K through 5 social studies adoption from the committee? Okay, seeing none, would there be a motion to accept the recommendation of the K through 5 social studies adoption of the studies weekly?
Second.
A first and a second, any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get that ordered and start working next steps and learning that this summer.
Then we get to do textbook adoptions, because there's 2 new textbooks for 2 exciting classes, so.
Yeah. 2 unique textbooks. One, we had Brenda Stilo the day before she was recognized by the community, the night before. She came to present her recommendation of Baker Betty's Better Baking Book, a classic baking techniques and recipe for building baking confidence. She was really excited about the science behind this, building upon some scaffold approaches that she's used, measuring things in grams, really focusing on the science of baking. And so the reality is that this will impact many courses, not just the baking principles, but also food science and advanced foods through that scaffold system. So she was really excited that day, had kind of plugged away at some of those recipes throughout the year and feels like this is the best next step to move forward. Our family has also already purchased a book, but we were able to find some ways to purchase that with the estimated cost of being $850, and based on Brenda's kind of feedback, looking at 30 copies for that, for the Better Baking, the baking book. Not gonna do it again. And then our other textbook is for a new course we're offering next year. We brought this as a new course in the fall. It's the Intro to Education course. It is a partnership through Oshkosh's program, so our students that are on this path to become teachers will have an opportunity to take a 3-credit course here at Grafton High School that will then transition into credits at UW Oshkosh or UW schools. And the recommendation for that partnership was to use Teachers, Schools, and Society, the 6th edition, for that core resource that would be used as a part of the connection to students going out on visits, to see the classroom visits. So that's the recommendation for Intro to Education.
We had a chance as a committee to review both textbooks. The baking one, I want to go out and buy. I have to say it has absolutely amazing recipes in it, and I know she piloted it, but they look amazing, and I wanted to photocopy it, so I may actually buy it myself. The Intro to Education one definitely provided good a resource for incoming students who want to become a teacher. I know, Sean, you were able to review it, and it really does provide some of the fundamentals and background, and then it's exciting for that course that they'll be out in the classrooms at Woodview and Kennedy and John Long, really getting to see what it's like to try to teach.
And you might be asked to be a board member to come speak to that class. So we might be looking for that at some point, too.
All right. And if you need anyone for the baking class, I'm really up for that, too.
We'll bring samples as a way to check in on the progress.
So the committee would recommend to the full board adoption of both of these textbooks. And looking for a motion then.
Any additional questions for the committee on either the Intro to Education or the baking principles? Just one comment I guess I would add is it was good to hear that for the Intro to Education, we did spend time at Slinger
Yes.
School District as well, going through that with Nate Grimm and
Yep, absolutely. We got to see that course in action at Slinger High School as they did their culminating activity there. And so students were sharing, they had gone out to an elementary and taught a lesson in a group and were reflecting on how they taught that lesson. It was a really great opportunity for Mr. Johnson and I to go over and see that in action and ask. Their principal was visiting the classroom that day, so we had a chance to ask questions to help shape our course in a very similar fashion to Slinger's.
great. That's a great addition to the curriculum. All right, so we'll take these in 2. First, we will do the Introduction to Education. So we would have a recommendation for the Teacher, Schools, and Society curriculum. Is there a motion to move forward with that?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes. And now you're gonna make me say it. I'm gonna go nice and slow here. The next will be a motion to approve Baker Betty's Better Baking Book. Is there a motion to move forward with that recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
First and second, any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes as well. Thank you very much for your work and the committee's work.
Absolutely, thanks.
We also had some just informational items. We went through the student handbooks and the code of conduct review per policy for all the schools. All the principals came in from each school to present their code of conduct, including guidelines and rules, which were all found in their student handbooks and online. No changes were made, and it was just a good review of what the current conduct code is. Then we also had a review of the math audit. In November, an outside audit was done in which IM was found to be the right one for our district with math practice into every lesson. They were impressed at how well our kids are learning collectively. Our teachers have good content knowledge, and all of our administrations and teachers have gotten or are getting professional development on. So next steps are to create a vision statement with a clear rubric for advancement, going deeper into topics for advanced students, and HCT standard alignments, including a 2-day training.
Okay, any additional comments or questions for the curriculum committee? So all the board members were able to attend, so thank you for that, and it was a very productive meeting. All right, next we will go to the same night, we had a finance committee. So Jerry and Topher, if you want to take this portion.
We'll start with the action items. First is the property and casualty insurance renewals, which we went through at finance and looked at M3, Gallagher, and R&R, which the committee voted to move forward with R&R for today.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and launch into the presentation for property and casualty insurance. Administration is very pleased to bring forward a risk management program that overall increases coverage and reduces our premiums for next year. I do want to thank Jamie and Rick for all their work with filling out multiple forms, as we did have multiple brokers marketing our lines of coverage. So thank you to all the work they put in taking care of that. Looking at our renewal, our workers' comp is going down about, premium is going down about $24,000, primarily because of our experience mod decreasing. And then our dividend that was brought forward by R&R increased almost $19,000. Liability and property lines of coverage had the premium reduced by about $57,000. Again, the levels of coverage are improved for property and liability. Other districts that are using, I'll mention that CIC is the liability insurer. Liberty will have our property and workers' comp insurance. Hanover would provide our crime insurance. Other districts that use R&R and CIC are Whitefish Bay, Nicolay, Mequon, Thiensville, Port, Germantown, among others. I received glowing reviews of R&R and CIC from the business officials from those districts. And I am excited to introduce Paul from R&R. Have him come up. He can introduce himself to you, studio audience, and the people watching from home. And so you can get to know him and tell a little bit about himself. Take it away.
Thanks for having me, Topher. Yeah, I'm Paul from R&R Insurance. The best I can rhyme with this is R&R Renewal. And that's a lot easier than that Baker's thing, right? So, yeah, so my background is I'm actually a CPA and got tricked into being an insurance agent about 15 years ago out of Menominee Falls. And my wife's a village trustee there, so she decided to do that this year, and I got 3 kids. One in Florida, one in Arizona, and one in Green Bay, so all over the place. So that's just a little bit of my background, but yeah, I've been doing this insurance, property and casualty with a specialty in educational and public entities. One thing that we did talk about is CIC is a carrier that insures actually Ozaukee County. So they specialize in public entities as well. R&R is an agency, I don't know if you guys know much about them, but we're in West Bend, Pewaukee, and then we have some other satellite offices too, but that's mainly where we're at. About 200 employees. So I look at insurance as three main things. You have your service, you have your coverages, and of course, very important is your premiums. And we're able to do a real nice job with that, with saving the district some money, after finally convincing Topher to talk to me a little bit more. So we look forward to providing services to, when we talked about the mod savings, there's still a lot of opportunity there. I think your mod's at a 1.4, and that's based on 3 years of claims. So we're hoping to get ahead of that, prevent claims. Obviously, there's a bunch of hidden costs when there is claims too, like overtime and hiring other teachers and things like that. So looking forward, I think there's a lot of opportunity here. Great district in Grafton here. I went to Tulsa West and competed against you guys a lot, so I guess now we're allies. But that's all I really got, unless you want to get more in depth and, you know, spend a little more time about insurance coverages. It's a good time.
I would, so, and I thank you to Paul for all the time he spent bringing on the CIC team and the other members of the R&R team, giving me an opportunity to talk with them. But now I'd open up if you have any questions for either Paul and I. We would be looking for a motion to approve going with R&R and their different lines of their solution that they brought forward.
Just one quick question. I know we talked about this at finance too, that dividend, that's a guaranteed dividend of 25%, is that right?
No dividend is truly guaranteed.
Okay.
Paul and I talked about
Yeah.
that, but I think there's only one example, like, ever.
Years
where-
ago, and that did not fare well for the carrier. I don't even think they exist anymore. So they're not guaranteed, but it's a flat dividend, which means that once the end of the year ends, which you're a July 1st renewal, they audit your payrolls, and then you get that 25% dividend. So it's flat, whether you have $10 in claims or $500,000 in claims, you're gonna get that 25% back. But not guaranteed, that's the disclaimer, but kind of
Right.
guaranteed.
Okay. So the savings of 81,000 is purely premium, and then next year we'll get that 25,000.
Correct. The dividend would come in, even not next year, would be part of the 2024-25
Gotcha.
piece.
Okay.
So that's why I don't include it in the savings or
Savings,
additional piece there. 'Cause it won't be part of next year, but the premium savings is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
How many total school districts in Wisconsin do you know that you work with?
So CIC has over 150 school districts, and that's really our main go-to. R&R, our educational division, insures around 50 school districts, and that's mainly property and casualty. We do benefits as well, personal lines, wealth management, but you added in the other benefits, coverages is probably a little bit more. I mainly deal with southeastern Wisconsin here. I probably go as far north as Amro. Far west is Broadhead, and then far south is probably like some smaller districts in Kenosha. Yeah. But the majority of them are here, and I think we work with the majority of the well, you mentioned the school districts.
Yeah,
so.
other districts, I think, Elmbrook, Menominee Falls, Greendale are other districts that
Yep.
you work with.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Paul or Topher or the Finance Committee? Paul, thank you for coming.
All right.
We appreciate the introduction, and we're glad that you and Topher had a chance to speak.
All right, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
First motion?
Ready for a motion?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no other questions? Then I would look for a motion, motion to approve the 2023-2024 workers' compensation, property and casualty insurance coverage brought forward by R&R Insurance.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes. Thank you very much.
Paul's going to stay because he lost a bet to me earlier.
Next up, we're gonna go through the 23-24 preliminary budget.
Yes, so as a review, we've taken a look, began working on the preliminary budget back in February. looking at revenue projections. Of course, in March and April, we've looked at our staff FTE and the expenditure side that goes along with staffing, which is the majority of our expenses. Then in May, both at Finance and the full board meeting, we took a look at the full preliminary budget, looked at it again at the June Finance Committee meeting, and now bring it forward to you tonight for approval for use starting July 1st. So, as we've looked at many times, expenditure assumptions are 4.3% wage and salary increases for staff, assuming a 10% increase in health insurance premiums, assuming that family benefits would be selected by new hires. We are using a teacher FTE increase of 2.33. That includes the Dean of Students position at John Long Middle School, and an increase in 4K from 0.6 to 1.0, which is on the agenda later tonight. An increase in open enrollment tuition out of $57,000. Taking our Fund 46 transfer, increasing it by $225,000 so that it is fully funded by the budgeted amount for the next 10 years. I should say the 20-year cap plan is fully funded for the next 10 years using that budgeted amount. 10% increase in utilities, property and casualty insurance premium decrease of $81,000. Thank you, Paul. So that helps the budget out. And then the private school voucher increase of $120,000. Again, that's, you'll see that in the revenue piece as well, that increased dollar amount that the private schools are getting through the voucher program, in particular high schools from about $9,000 up to $12,000 per year. That's going to cause our levy exemption. So to cover this cost, we end up adding that amount to our tax levy. We bring in the money and then we send it to the private schools. So it does balance out, doesn't affect our overall budget, but it does affect our levy. So that amount, even without increased participation with additional students, we should expect to see that amount increase because of the increased amounts per pupil. Overall expenditure increase of $1.6 million, a 6.2% increase over last year. Revenue assumptions, we're assuming a revenue limit increase of over $1 million with using the, what has now become, it looks like fairly solidified, not official law yet, but fairly solidified, a $325 maximum per member amount increase for the revenue limit, an increase of 33 students in our 3-year membership average, and of course that $120,000 increase in the private school levy. Again, that does increase our revenue limit, but those aren't funds that we can use for educating our students. That's just a levy, it's revenue that comes in, we send it to the private schools. We're assuming the per pupil aid remains at $742 per member. That does seem to be what's locked into this upcoming budget. The special ed categorical aid, an increase of about $100,000. As the increase did, the reimbursement rate was increased slightly, certainly a lot lower than what districts were hoping for, and a decrease to open enrollment revenue of about $88,000. That's due primarily because we have cut the number of seats we have available in half relative to the number of seats we had last year. Overall, revenue increase of $1,169,000, a 4.7% increase. Overall, this is a budget deficit of about $570,000. Looking at some of the various pieces of revenue, the membership increase, we're being conservative. Our membership, 3-year average membership would increase about 33 students, even if our current membership levels out. We're expecting, though, that membership will continue to increase this year from last year, so we might see additional revenue related to increased membership than we're currently projecting. And of course, that increased membership does come with that increased FTE that we talked about. Also, here's a visual of the $325, the $325 per member increase. You can see that, that's over each of the next 2 years of the biennial after seeing per member increases of 0. I also want to point out that last year's revenue limit had a transfer of service. That then gets basically plugged into our per member amount, so that increased at about $60 per member. And again, these increases were far below what many districts were asking for in terms of having that inflationary increase in that per member. Having a $650 increase to our per membership amount over the course of 4 years has us falling far behind what inflation is. And again, this was also the relatively small increase to that reimbursement rate for special education. Again, far below what districts were asking for in the upcoming state budget. As an overview, inflation through 2023 over the past 4 years is going to be coming in right around 18 to 20%. As mentioned, that choice school amount increased for high schools from 9,000 to 12,000. It increased a smaller amount for elementaries, but choice schools for 2023-24 are getting an increase of 18 to 37%. Municipalities are looking at, in the shared revenue piece that had been in the news so much, looking at an increase of 20% for shared revenue. We're looking at, over a 4-year period, getting a 6% increase. So certainly creates challenging situations for budgets for all school districts. And we are certainly not immune. Next steps, obviously, as we move through the hiring process, we'll continue to update the budget. As this current year budget ends, that will inform certain budget adjustments going into next year. In September, we at the Finance Committee will review the published budget and tax levy estimate. That will then be presented at the annual meeting in September. Between October 1st and 15th, we'll get final budget information from the state and present that at the October Finance Committee meeting, and then bring that budget for final approval and the tax levy for final approval at the October board meeting. So that is the conclusion of my presentation on the budget. Now we'd be looking for a motion after taking any questions.
Any questions for Topher or for the Finance Committee on the budget? Okay. All right, well, thank you for the work that you've put into that, and we certainly got a little bit of work yet to do here before we get to the final budget, but confident that we will get there. So with that, I will look for a motion to approve the proposed 23-24 preliminary budget.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and the preliminary budget passes. So that is our, the recommendations for the board action. Then we have some informational items that also came out of that June 12th finance meeting.
All right, yeah, so we had a couple of items where, that we discussed, including an update to the 20-year capital maintenance plan, taking a look at some of the budgets that are the projects that have been completed, the upcoming projects that we have to look at, as well as projects that have been added into that 20-year cap plan. That was an opportunity to be able to discuss that in depth at finance, knowing that we'll still have some additional information as we finish the budget year that we can then present in August when we bring the 20-year cap plan forward to be approved for next year. We also discussed informational items regarding a community-based school resource officer program that we were looking to implement last year. It didn't occur, and certainly looking at that possibility of having that for the upcoming year potentially. But again, just information, nothing for board action on that. And then we do have one other piece of information that does have a presentation along with it, the building expansion discussion, which I'll present on, and which was presented and discussed at Finance, comes tonight for further presentation and discussion. At the October 17th committee meeting, Finance Committee meeting, administration was directed to examine solutions to the unexpected trend of increasing enrollment. The strategic planning group in February also raised a concern about classroom capacity across the district. We have engaged with Growth Design Group to look at our building capacity and possible additions to create additional space. Looking back to 2010, you can see a clear trend of declining enrollment. In 2014-15, Grafton added 4-year-old kindergarten, which did provide a one-time boost to our enrollment, but did not change our overall trend of declining enrollment. The referendum did not increase our overall footprint of the school district. When the referendum was passed in 2017, the declining enrollment trend was expected to continue, which it did for the next 4 years, with the loss of over 150 more students. We did not want to increase the cost of the referendum and the cost to the taxpayer by building empty classrooms with no expectation we would see increased enrollment over the near term. The past couple of years, however, have seen the enrollment trend reverse with growing numbers of students. The long-time trend in declining enrollment experienced during the teens is not surprising when you look at the relatively few single-family housing starts in the village during most of that decade. The 100 housing permits issued in 2019 and 2020 was more than the previous 9 years combined, which was then followed by 95 housing permits being issued in 2021 alone. The building boom has continued with 68 permits issued in 2022 and an estimated 50 in 2023. We currently have one bubble at first grade, which is being followed by a relatively small 5K group. This data wasn't necessarily showing us that we were going to encounter multiple bubbles, but with continued elevated home starts in the district, we did look into the possibility of the need to expand. Looking at some newer data at next year's enrollment for 4K, it's trending higher. We've expanded from 5 half-day sections to 6, it's on the agenda later tonight, for additional FTE at that 4K, and are going to fully utilize the room that only houses an AM section. This group has the potential to be a bubble for either next year or the following year, like our current first grade. Next year's 5K is also relatively large, similar at this point in enrollment to 2 of our larger groups, including the current first grade bubble. We are tracking this data to determine if we are trending toward having bubbles every other year versus just one bubble every 4 or 5 years. Administration has considered numerous options to address the increased enrollment we are experiencing. Options such as opening an early learning center or reorganizing into separate schools for K2 and 3-5 were discussed, but the options we have worked with Growth Design to explore are the option of adding 4 classrooms at each elementary and the option of adding 8 classrooms at the middle school to accommodate 5th grade. Adding 4 classrooms per elementary would allow for 3 bubble classrooms and additional special education space, which we have had difficulty with accommodating with the growing population of special education students. The 8 classrooms at JLMS would allow for the 5th grade to be housed at the middle school, along with the additional special education classrooms. These are just broad design overviews that have been explored to this point. Growth looked at a number of locations for an addition at Woodview, and this made the most sense, but would create some issues with the need to relocate some playground equipment and install a new fire lane. Kennedy is far more challenging with trying to find a location for an addition. The best of some not so great options is expanding into the paved playground area as pictured here. The ideal spot for an 8 classroom addition at John Long Middle School is off of the southeast corner. Here are 8 additional classrooms that would allow the 5th grade to come up to the middle school. This would require an expansion of the cafeteria and servery into the current 8th grade science lab. A new science room would be remodeled using current special ed spaces and repurposing existing space to accommodate special education. This is essentially an overview of both the addition and required modeling at John Long Middle School. There are challenges with each option. Both elementaries would have playground areas impacted. At Kennedy, in particular, the distance the classrooms in the addition would be from art, music, phy ed, and library would not be ideal. The size of the cafeteria at Kennedy would potentially be an issue and does not have any cost-effective options for expansion. The challenges at John Long Middle School are the reduction of currently available parking spaces and the need to add play equipment for the 5th grade. Some newer information that we have to bring forward are the ongoing personnel costs that would result from the expansion of these 2 options. The option of the 2 elementaries would be more expensive at roughly $370,000, and certainly more expensive than the expansion at John Long Middle School, which would be about $115,000. At the middle school, the Dean of Students position would need to become an AP, an assistant principal with the addition of staff and students, bringing that 5th grade up. In addition, bringing 5th grade up would mean specialist FTE would increase at John Long Middle School, noting that specialist FTE at the elementaries would not be reduced, as programming for 5th grade would be replaced with potential upcoming bubbles. Expanding the elementaries would likely involve adding an AP at each building and the addition of a school site shared between the 2 elementaries. Construction costs of the 2 options are very similar at a little under $10 million each. The costs at John Long Middle School do include remodeling that would be required to bring 5th grade up to the middle school. There would not be any remodeling performed at the elementary expansion. In order to finance a construction project of this size, the district would need to seek voter approval for a debt issuance. Baird has put together an illustration of the tax impact of a $10 million debt issue. We currently levy funds used to make future debt payments. We have already shortened the payoff period of our current debt by 4 years by using these funds. We do have additional funds that could be used for an additional defeasance, which would lower future debt payments. The portion of the current levy used to make future debt payments could be used to finance a new issue, thus minimizing the tax impact of the new debt issue. In this illustration from Baird, the Fund 39 tax levy could incorporate the newly issued debt payments and would remain relatively unchanged while still having us scheduled to pay the debt off in 2034, again 4 years earlier than originally scheduled. That completes the update for the building expansion options that are being looked into. Any questions?
I have one question about the expansion at John Long. Would there be an overall increase to special ed space in there as it stands currently? It sounded like in the first proposal at the elementaries, it would increase special ed space. Would that be the same for John Long?
Yes, that's where other areas would be utilized to take on special ed.
Okay.
In addition to that, yes.
Okay, so it would be a net increase in space then? Okay.
Yes.
And at this point, you've been able to share this with staff too before they left for summer.
Yes, so Jeff and I went to the elementaries and John Long Middle School to present these options.
We didn't have the information the board requested at the finance committee, so we didn't have the staffing numbers or the Baird model, but we did show basically the slides that we had shown previously at the full board in May, and we were able to take questions. We were probably there for half an hour at each building, being able to present to them and knowing that there's 2 options that the board are looking at. It isn't both options that the board's considering. It's either. It's one or. It's one or the other. So we had to be clear on that. But yes, we were able to present to them, so they were able to hear that, and they want to share feedback that we said they could share with the board or with administration over the summer and so forth.
And then timeline that you're, as far as this, for making a decision and trying to move forward into a certain direction, what do you see as timeline?
Yeah, so we have time. There is not a November election, and so this is not something that is fast-tracked by any means. And so it's something that we would need, I think, a board decision by December?
January board meeting.
January board meeting, no later than that. We need to have a decision made by then. It could be made earlier. So we are just looking to present to the board, share more information. Finance committee had said getting more information would be helpful on the cost. You know, what's the one-time cost? What's the ongoing cost? Some of those pieces. So getting that information out there, sharing that. And then if there's other questions that arise, for us to be able to bring that back. But summer's a busy time, and so maybe to take a break and to maybe gather feedback from people, and then discuss next steps as we come back into the school year, I think would be appropriate.
Couple observations. So like the John Long expansion, obviously you had mentioned the Dean of Students going to an AP, and the Dean of Students is going to be a new position this coming school year. So that was like a $25,000. So that's already built into the
Correct.
budget
right.
for
Not
next
if-
year.
If we don't expand, we still have a dean at the middle
Right.
school.
So it's really a net, or an increase of 25
Correct.
to go to an AP. And I guess just another thought or comment about the financing. I mean, we've done a lot to cut down and pay back earlier at 4 years, but a lot of other things just to put us in a better spot and save the taxpayer money with the defeasance and all those things over the years.
Correct.
That we've been chipping away and trying to be good stewards and do things financially the best we could. So I think the good news is, looking at this, that fixed cost, 10 million either way, as you said, could be absorbed in our current debt structure.
Correct.
Topher, does that John Long number include additional playground equipment at that site for fifth grade?
It does not. That could probably be incorporated in those site plans, but no, it wouldn't have the additional playground there.
Was it just moving the current playground that looked like on that?
At Woodview?
Yeah, the Woodview.
At
Sorry,
Woodview,
John Long.
yeah, these are very rough numbers, so
Right.
they haven't costed out, like, what would it cost to move the playground at Woodview? What would it cost to install new playground equipment at John Long necessarily? So these are pretty broad overview numbers at this point.
But to your question, yeah, so it would, with the parking where we have staff parking now would be what would be impacted at John Long. So you
Okay.
can see the drive that connects John Long
Right.
and Woodview would still stay the same. We're not changing the drive. It would be impacting the staff parking, which is why you see at the bottom in that middle, like I said, it says revised parking layout to provide parking on both sides of single-way drive. So you'd be able to add parking during the school day. Parking isn't as big of a deal at the middle school. Now you're losing spaces and you're adding more teachers, so it might become more cramped, but whenever there's an event, parking is at a premium, both in the front, on the street, and in that middle area that's blacktop. So that's the redesign that would be a piece of that, to make sure we have enough staff parking.
But Bob, were you getting at, so if fifth grade were to come here, we'd need additional
There would be an
playground?
additional.
Well, there isn't.
There isn't
There
playground.
isn't.
And that's not
Yeah,
structured
there's
into
not
this.
Right.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Because there
details
isn't a
like
playground.
that, these
No,
are
certainly
big
there's
picture
more
numbers.
to dig out on it, but
Yeah, where would that be located? and
Right.
Where could that go?
going forward with the next steps, what would be the appropriate way to engage different school groups and teachers and staff to see what their concerns might be with either of these decisions? Is that something with the summer break, is that more likely to happen at the beginning of the school year?
Well, we will go with whatever the board would like us to do. I would sense that July is a difficult time to get people to come together and really get good feedback. So that's why I think my thought would be as we ramp up for the school year, people are starting to think about school, you're having registration, some of those things in the middle of August that would maybe provide an opportunity to have a listening session later once the school year began. Just present the options, hear people's thoughts, that we can present to the board could hear, and be thinking through those pieces. But, using our, one of the ideas that we had is that as we start the year, we do have PD that's set aside for staff to be able to work on various pieces, and being able to go on a site visit during those times when we have virtual days at the high school and middle school would be beneficial for both our elementary staff and our middle school. We've done that this year as we look at curriculum, so we have to get a sub for that. So that's been really beneficial to have teams of teachers be able to go on site visits. So I would envision us doing something with that in the fall.
Okay, certainly more to come on this topic.
We'll keep bringing stuff back.
And, any other questions for the Finance Committee or Topher on anything that was discussed? The whole board was able to attend last Monday, which was great, but if there is nothing, we will move on to item G, the personnel report.
Yes, and Topher's mentioned this earlier, but we have we'd ask for board approval for Carly Waldorf, who is our current .6 FTE 4K teacher at Kennedy Elementary School, to move to full-time. And then we have a job share situation at Grafton High School between Julia McMahon moving from 1.0 to 0.5, and Natalie Moschberger, math, Grafton High School, from 1.0 to 0.5, which would then result in us posting for a full-time position. So it's not a reduction in FTE at the high school or in math, but it's a decision they've made to move to that, to create one position, so we'll be posting for that other job. And then we have 3 resignations we'd ask for board approval. Lindsay Charles, special education teacher at Grafton High School, Katie Crossman, kindergarten teacher at Woodview Elementary School, and Jennifer Griffith, district instructional technology coordinator. Lindsay's moving on to become an administrator. The Sheboygan School District. Katie is moving to a district closer to her home, and Jen Griffith has become a director in a different district. So two staff members moving up in their educational careers, and one moving closer to their current home, so we will miss them, but we wish them all 3 very well. And then we have new hires: Laura LaFleur, special education aide at Kennedy Elementary School, is informational. Retirements of Joan Duffner, special ed aide at Woodview Elementary School, and Karen Kaplan, a library media aide at Grafton High School. And then resignation of Amy Knippel, library media aide at Woodview Elementary. We would ask for approval for the change in positions as well as the resignations.
Any questions on the personnel report? Okay, seeing none, we'll take these in twos as well. We'll do the change in position first. So we'll look for a motion for Carly Waldorf, 4K teacher at Kennedy Elementary School, from .6 FTE to 1 FTE. Julie McMahon, math teacher, GHS, from 1 FTE to 0.5 FTE. And Natalie Moschberger, math, Grafton High School, from 1.0 FTE to 0.5 FTE. Is there a motion for that approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes. And we will do a second motion for the resignation of Lindsay Charles, special education teacher, Grafton High School, Katie Grossman, kindergarten teacher, Woodville Elementary, and Jennifer Griffith, district instructional technology coordinator. Is there a motion for those resignations?
So moved.
Second.
Sure. All right, any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that passes. So, certainly, congratulate our Carly going full-time, as well as Julie and Natalie's change in roles, as well as appreciate the time that Lindsay, Katie, and Jennifer spent with our district, and certainly wish them all well. So, thank you. All right, next we will go to H, summer teaching contracts advance approval.
Yeah, so we've done this in the past in July, and where we've asked the board to give administration the authority to hire teachers without waiting until the next board meeting. We have teachers that we're interviewing, and with the board meeting being moved up a week, There's 2 people that are going on my calendar this week that we would be able to approve next week. But then if the board doesn't authorize us to offer a contract, they're not gonna decline their current role in their district until after the board has approved them, which then creates a log jam. And so the ability for us to be able to offer a contract, still bring the candidates to the board at the next board meeting, so the board is aware of it, but would allow us to be able to make sure that we, at a time in which our candidate pools are shrinking, are able to make decisions quickly and bring those to the board for approval, but allow those people then to be able to have a position in our district, and then allow that, the district they're leaving, to have a notice as well, so they can start posting for that. And there's certain timelines where you hit, where then you are paying a fee to break your contract. And so the ability for them to be able to work at their district would be beneficial for them. So we would ask the board to allow administration to extend contracts to teachers or staff in between now and the July board meeting, and then between that July and August board meeting, or even after the August board meeting if there was an unexpected resignation or something that occurred that resulted in us needing to hire leading up to that.
Any questions regarding that recommendation? Jeff mentioned we've done this before. Certainly think it would be in the best interest of the district. So with that said, I will look for a motion for the recommendation to advance the approval for the teacher contracts to the district in advance of the board having a meeting. Is there a motion for that recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Any discussion?
Once school starts, I assume we go back to the normal protocol? Because then there wouldn't be the need for,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we've been fortunate.
whenever
to
that
not have-
meeting is,
Yep.
late September maybe.
Yep, so the recommendation is just between July, August meetings.
And I think if we got into a spot like that, then we could use that, you know, even post for a one agenda item before a committee meeting. That's worked well for us.
Good.
I think we've got to do that once before to get someone hired.
Any other questions? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that passes. All right, next, we have some second readings from the policy chair, Mark.
Yes, we have 3 carryovers from last month, from the full board meeting. We have, and we're gonna take these in 2 pieces. We have a second reading on 2 revised policies, policy 2210, curriculum development, and revised policy 8600 for transportation. And I know Michael provided some additional feedback around 2210 for us, so looking for approval on those 2 initially.
Okay. Mark indicated these are second readings from the policy committee previously. So any additional questions? All right. Seeing none, well, as Mark said, we'll take these in 2. I'd be looking for a motion to approve the revised policy of 2210 curriculum development and revised policy 8600 transportation. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes.
And then we also have a second reading on a new policy, policy 8802 for patriotic activities and observations. So we did have a first reading last month.
Any discussions on 8802? This was a new policy that came from Neola. As Mark mentioned, Neola had a first reading on this, so I would look for a motion to approve the new policy 8802, patriotic activities and observations.
Second.
Motion second, additional discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that passes as well. So those, and I think then we're all clean on all of our policies on this point, so thank you for that. WIA membership renewal.
Yes, we are, every year we have to have the board approve our membership in the WIA, and so Mr. Moore fills this out for us. You can see the boys' sports that we offer, whether it's a non-contact co-op, a contact co-op, and then the girls' sports that we offer as well. You'll notice that in that bottom right corner that there are no dues or fees. WIA waived those back in 2015, and then in 2017 they made that official to make it permanent. But every year we have to renew our membership in the WIA.
All right, any questions? All right, I will look for a motion to approve the WIA membership renewal.
So moved.
Second.
Additional discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? And that passes. Okay, Southeastern Wisconsin School Alliance SWA membership.
Yes, so this is our yearly renewal with SWSA. In the packet, it shows the agreement that we have. School District of South Milwaukee is the operator and fiscal agent for our group. The budget is attached for what they are expending on the expenditures as well as revenues. And then the cost of $3,200, which is our yearly cost. SWSA advocates on behalf of our district and districts across southeastern Wisconsin. The last page has the various districts in southeastern Wisconsin that are involved in the consortium. And so we are looking for board approval for this fee of $3,200 to continue our membership in SWSA.
And Bob is our representative in SWSA. All right. Any questions?
What fund pays that due?
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. I would imagine, oh no, this is Fund 10. Yeah.
So it does come out of 10.
Yeah. I was gonna go deep into the woods.
No, just to clarify, which fund is that? Thank you.
All right.
We almost extended the meeting.
All right, is there a motion to approve the SWA membership contract?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes as well. L, we have a couple student overnight trip applications.
Yes, we have two applications that we'd ask for board approval. One is for the girls, Grafton High School girls basketball team. I'm going to a team camp at UW Stevens Point, which is coming up on 6/25 to 6/27. And you can see that Matt D'Amato is the coach, but he's bringing along Eric Peterson and Ashley Fanner still along with them, and they stay in the dorms. Fundraising that they have, it's attached in the back, so you see the cost. And then we have also our GHS dance team to go to the Just for Kicks dance camp at St. Norbert's College, which is coming up in July 5th through the 9th. And you can see the cost on the back as well as the dance program, using some of their fundraising funds for that. So we'd ask for board approval for those two overnight trips.
Okay. Any questions on the overnight trip applications? All right, is there a motion to approve both the girls' basketball program as well as the GHS dance team?
So moved.
Second.
Additional questions or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? And that passes as well. All right, last, we have some gift reports.
Yes, we have a number of gift reports, which is exciting to see. So we have from Aurora Healthcare, Haley Neenan is the contact person, and they are donating $5,000 for HOSA's Every 15-Minute program that we'll be offering next spring. So you can recall 4 years ago, we had that program, and now the high school staff, I think led by Fran and her cohort with HOSA, are going to be bringing that back. So we have $5,000 from Two invoices were at Medical Center and the Grafton Medical staff that are supporting that. And then also we have another donation from Aurora Healthcare, also with Haley as the lead through our Project Lead the Way Biomedical Science of $2,500. They are very generous every year. Aurora supports this. It's an annual subscription fee that they pay every year. So it doesn't require us to take it out of our budget or charge a fee to students. So $2,500 in that for that. We have our Grafton Music and Theater Boosters with Rick Seibold as the contact person, making a cash gift for a new marimba of $1,200 for the John Long Middle School band program. And then we have also Grafton Music and Theater Boosters with Rick leading that with the GHS Theater program of $3,692 for a new fog machine. And I should say all these donations tonight are restricted gifts. So there's a new fog machine in the amount of $3,692. And they also have a donation of $5,000 towards the JHS band program and their new band uniforms that they will be getting for next year. So thank you to our boosters with that. And then moving on with the Grafton Gridiron Club with Kyle Van Sluis as the contact person, making a donation of $8,037.20 for Riddell shoulder pads, and then $4,590 for a sideline camera. So a restricted gift for JHS football. And then our Grafton Athletic Booster Club with Ben Brian as the contact person is making a donation of $3,000 for the JHS wrestling camp on July of 2023. And Mark Mins is making a donation to the GHS girls and boys swim teams in the amount of $2,500. So a restricted gift for the boys and girls swim teams from Mark. And then our Grafton Basketball Backcourt Club with Joe Hildebrand as the contact person is making a donation of $1,600 towards the varsity set of uniforms for the boys basketball team. And then Grafton Hoops with Andrew, I always get this wrong.
Kiviulia.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you for helping me. For boys basketball in the amount of $4,057.25 donation to programs, summer leagues, and camps.
Excellent. Any questions for Jeff on any of the donations? All right, with that, we'll do these all at once. A motion to approve the numerous gift reports.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All right, any additional questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, it passes with, thank you very much to all of them for their generosity, and we'll send out a letter to recognize each of them for doing this, so thank you very much. With that, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Next, we have adjournment. The Board of Education will consider a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Section 1, subsection C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for purpose of considering performance-related data of the superintendent. Do we have a motion to go into closed?
So moved.
Second. First and second, we'll take a voice vote.
Yes.
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 And yes, we are in closed. Thank you.